Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. Sattology means science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake lie imagination. Please do not use the word mythology for Vedic histories because I am I have proved it in my books, but there are many other authors have proved it also. Many authors, researchers, and more important, our great paramparas have proven that Mahabharata and Ramayana are historical fact. In fact, the biggest mythology on the planet is the Greek mythology, Roman mythology, on which all the Abrahamism cults are built on. Okay, that is the biggest mythology on the planet. So anyway, I have a very special guest, very popular, and she lives in India, but she is from Germany. Without delay, let us welcome Maria Wirth.
Namaste, Aditi.
Yeah. So, living in India and also like as an Indian American, I'm living in USA, but my heart is always connected to India. So I love USA as well as India. Now you are from Germany and you're from Germany, so you love Germany as well as you love India. So what do the Germans think about the new India today?
Actually, I love India more than Germany. I sometimes wonder how it is possible because everybody says you have to love your motherland. But I just feel much more connected to India. In fact, I never knew that one can love a country so much. Germany, if I hear names of the cities, Frankfurt, Berlin, nothing really happens. And if I hear Indian cities, it's very, very difficult. So in my motherland, you hear very little of India. But just yesterday, I got a forward, which was a video of somebody who is analyzing politics and economy. And he was talking first time about India, said one should watch this kind of quiet, basically giant who is an upcoming superpower. They called it superpower. So I was very happy that I heard for the first time this. But usually, and I feel maybe it's good that there's not so much on India in the news, except, of course, there is still, whenever there's something negative, it will come in the news. There's no doubt. But what I also noticed is because the brainwashing is so big in Germany, regarding Ukraine and the Russia war, and they are completely on the side of Ukraine. They have the media. At first, the media was used fully for Corona and COVID, and now it has shifted absolutely on the side of Ukraine and against Russia. Russia is a very bad guy. I mean, it is the tradition. Actually, when I grew up in Germany, I grew up in the Cold War. And they even would threaten, when I was a child, they would threaten us with, if you don't do this, the Russians are coming. So this was, it's in a way natural to be anti-Russia in Germany, but it's very, very bad. In fact, Germany has even blocked the accounts of Russian truck drivers, for example, and even Russians who live in Germany and are married in Germany. So, and I spoiled some of my friendships almost because when they say, how can India stand with Putin and so? I said, I can understand that India has abstained, that it wants to keep a neutral role. And some were quite angry with me, actually. But I feel India is doing an excellent job. And especially the foreign minister also, his comments are brilliant in a way, really, that he gives it clearly and in this very calm way. So I am very happy. I feel India is doing, in this regard, it's doing very, very well. But I feel there's so much false news again, how to say, fake news in the West regarding Ukraine as a good and Russia as a bad one. It is not that black and white, no?
The problem is somewhere else. I think the Europeanism or the racial, see, the and I can talk to you freely because you are a Sanatan Dharma follower. But so the problem is that they have been taught in their Abrahamism schools that they are superior, they're the God's gift to mankind, they are the most civilized, and they are there to civilize everybody else. The only place Europeans got defeated was India in the world. This is a history. 1741, Marthanda Varma defeated a straight military naval flight, the Dutch. Dutch were the most powerful military naval force, like USA today. They attacked Marthanda Varma with 17 naval ships, 17. And he sunk all of them, not even spare one, including the Dutch, the army commander, naval commander of Dutch, became the army commander for Marthanda Varma later on. He hired him.
Hmm.
And and also there are stories of entire Northeast. So India was not conquered by either Islamists or Islamism cults or even Brahmism cults, Christian cults. So they know the power of Indian and resilience of Indian is a historical fact. Now it is again going to be repeated if they try again. So that is the so when it comes to India, that's what their experience is. So therefore they have to maintain the superior, they have to teach their children how superior they are. Like yesterday I was talking to somebody in USA, and that person said India has so much poverty and everywhere. I said, listen, if you look at the percentage of population, then America has more poverty than India, percentage of population. America has 35% people who can only 35% today, 35% who, according to American standards of poverty, India has different standards of poverty. According to
Yeah.
Americans' levels of poverty, 35% of people have difficulty in obtaining 3 meals a day. And 10% of the population has no house to live in. So when Americans tell me that, oh, they have, the India has so much poverty, I said, if you look at the percentage, then you are poorer than India today, not richer. And so you have to compare apples to apples. And also they say American economy $24 trillion. Now if you divide $24 trillion by 330 million people, then you actually come out to $72,000 per head GDP. That includes, of which 95% goes to the rich person people. That is only 2% of population. The remaining people, the official median income of USA is $52,000. So now $20,000 per head GDP is a they have to try to show themselves superior. See, there was a very famous quote of Eisenhower. If you want to show Americans as big, then you have to feed them more. You have to make them look bigger than others, brighter than others, more white than others. Then American superiority is restored. But in the case of India, I mean, they don't understand. Americans don't understand, nor Europeans understand. White skin means nothing in India. Nothing. In fact, when Indians normally talk, they say Gora and they cut it off. It's not important for us. So they do that. So they do not understand that they think they're superior, and Indians think them they are not even worth putting in the toilet. So,
But luckily, no, this has changed because I noticed in like 40 years ago, I came first. Actually, I came already during my studies in 1974, my very first visit in India. And I remember that if I would go into a shop, and then often it would happen, Madam, what do you want, or something. And I always felt a bit uncomfortable. I said, he was here before me also. But now this has changed, and I'm very happy about it. And the whole attitude towards foreigners is, yes, has Indians are now far more self-confident, and I feel sometimes many Westerners still don't get it because they still have this feeling that we, no? And there are sometimes very, I feel, painful incidences like that they would be so intolerant towards Indians if, for example, young Indians and young foreigners, if young boys want to take a photo with Westerners, nothing wrong. No? We Westerners, we take so many photos of Indians. So why not? No? Why? And then sometimes they can react very, very badly. And it's very unfair. And Indians are so good-natured in a way. It's not always that they want to grab or something. Not at all. India is the best country in this way. by far, I traveled a lot earlier. When I was young, but India is really safe, very safe in certain areas.
In my last book, Gold, Glory, and God, when I was researching that book, and that book is, thank you for all the viewers for getting that book. If you search Sattology, you'll get that book. In that book, Gold, Glory, and God, during the research of that book, I understood the West properly for the first time, because I had no idea about the West before that. And I really thank Americans. A lot of Americans are my friends here. And because of all their help and contribution, I was successful in my business. And thank you for that, for all the Americans. But for the first time, I understood what actually their mindset is. And the mindset is all about, it's a very individualistic society. They only care about themselves and their family and nothing else. Everything else, like whatever helps their family, is good for in the name of God. That's what their idea is. And in that process, dharma goes far away. That the benefit for all, it goes far away. And the entire society is very transactional. Like it's like you're dealing with robots. They have no, it's called, when you say conscience and heart is there, like there are a lot of good Americans are there. They're in the villages. I know that I was the only brown person in the entire county of 90,000 people, but they never discriminated against me. Nobody. I never faced such discrimination here. I faced more discrimination than from Mexican Americans than with regular Americans, because European Americans, I did not face any discrimination with them. So in that research, I found out that what they think, how they think, and why they are taught. So they're trained to be superior, but actually they are not. But when they meet an Indian, then their entire, it's like having a needle put in their balloon, and all air comes out. And that's where they become. So I see, if in an audience you have a Indian, and thanks to Hollywood has created an image, all the intelligent workers are brown skinned like me. So they all show that, a doctor will be Indian, and the most wise person in the group will be an Indian guy, and everyone is listening. So this is changing. I see that. Now my question to you is, now with the changing, like the Indians are getting more assertive, they're speaking more freely, and they are, but still a lot needs to be done in India at a lower level, because the language barrier, that the English means that you are sophisticated, also is going to gradually dying out with the new education policy. Local languages are preferred, and I see more Hindi videos getting successful than English videos. So what is your changing, what you have noticed in the last 40 years now?
Yeah, English definitely has changed. It's getting better. It's still not good. English is still, unfortunately, parents think that they have to send their children into English medium schools. Otherwise, they may not make it in life. And I feel sending little kids into English medium where the parents don't speak English, or even otherwise where parents don't speak English at home, it is not possible to become fluent in a language. So they are so handicapped in education because they have to use so much energy and time just to understand the language. If you put me into a Russian class and you don't even teach me I am, you are, he is, but you just give me a book and say, now you know it, it is absolutely impossible. And I don't understand how this English medium schools still can be continued. I also learned English. Germans also learn English. Of course, we are not as good as when you go through English medium, but the disadvantage is you don't have a mother tongue, really. When I ask the boys here who don't know English very well, but they don't know Hindi also. And they don't know simple words even they don't know in Hindi, like even democracy, for example. They have to think what it means. So this I feel language is so important. I mean, I still, even though I am not so so close to Germany, but language, I am quite happy to speak German with other Germans, because you can play with the language. You can use words which you are not using in writing, maybe, but they are nice somehow. You can express better. So I feel very sorry for Indians who are missing out on these subtleties of a language, or even that you can make out where somebody comes from. Every 100 kilometer, the dialect changes somewhat, and so these things I feel India should really go up to local languages and have Sanskrit and learn English. I learned English in the 8th class. I mean, you can learn it, but you don't have to write essays in it. You can understand it, you can read it, but last you can write in it. Writing is the most difficult. I mean, if I would have to write an article in Hindi, it would be impossible. So I understand most of it and I can speak also. So these Indian children, they are asked to write, even when they have a science papers, it takes so much time to understand the question. So they are at a terrible disadvantage. And only very few make it, mainly those whose parents speak English. And then not necessarily those who have a great ability for mathematics, for example, or science. They are not necessarily good also in languages. So this is, I feel it pulls India down.
No, I would request all the Americans to learn Hindi as well as learn Hindu culture, because if they learn it, it will be good for them in the future. Just like many Americans learn Chinese, and
Yeah.
they speak fluent Chinese, Mandarin.
The Chinese sent people and made so many Confucius institutes all over the world, no? And they sent youngsters to teach.
And that should be the mission of all the Indian missions. Indian missions must promote their language and their culture, and they should be the ambassadors of India, not ambassadors of secular government, but they should be the ambassadors of India as people of India. And they all want to promote people to people ties, but I don't think so that is happening much, because of we are not promoting languages. Our Hindi or Marathi, Tamil, whatever language you like to teach people, it doesn't matter to me. As long as it's written in Devanagari script, everything is Indian. So coming to one question I have now, most of the Western media shows a third world versus first world, that we are the first world. Like America is the biggest self-proclaimed country for everything. They think that they have said about themselves, and that's the reality. So you will see that America has their own World Series, which is just 50 states. For them, the world is just those 50 states, and which is also an occupied territory, because they were belonging to Native Americans. It is not theirs. They are the settlers, and they wiped out the natives. Now, and the Americans don't even know how much human rights violations they have done, and so the world is tired of them giving certificate to others that this, you are a human rights champion, and the world's worst human rights abuser is United States, within USA as well as outside USA. Now, how do you see as the world challenging that aspect of USA or other Western countries?
I don't really see yet that it is challenged, because the whole media is so biased, and social media also is biased. And I feel the power, the money power, is still in the West, and they dictate the discourse. And they still, for example, also they dictate that, I mean, it is so incredible. For example, what is happening now in India. We had Ram Navami, and we had Hanuman Jayanti, and the processions were attacked in 8 states. Now even in Uttarakhand also, 9 states. And so brutal. People were in hospital. A 16-year-old boy, can't even describe. So, and what was trending on Twitter, it was incredible. It was trending Muslim genocide in India. And they immediately the so-called secular, which is of course not secular. I feel this secular, it should be really clarified once for all in India. I mean, secular doesn't mean Christianity and Islam. It is completely misunderstood. But all these so-called secular journalists, they came right away, and Muslims suffer in India. I can't believe how this is possible. And even Sonia Gandhi, I don't know whether she wrote the article, but it was in her name in the Indian Express. She wrote an article with the title, "A Virus is Raging." And she meant an apocalypse of hatred, intolerance, and bigotry. And whom does she mean? Hindus. I mean, it is so incredible, and the media brings it. And in the West, I have a friend who believes me and who is on India's side, but she says when she meets her friends, her co-workers from earlier, they are still believing what the media says. They think that media has more people on the ground, they have better information than my friend who is just a friend who lives in India, and she wouldn't know so much. So this indoctrination is going on full speed, and I feel India has to be very careful about it, because obviously there are forces which try to remove the government, and they use this divide in India, which is not coming from the Hindus, to blame that, to say that India is in trouble, so on. And ideally, we should do something and intervene. I hope it never comes to this part. But I feel it really pains me. There are terrible videos, terrible things which happened in the last few days to Hindus. And yeah, what to do? I mean, we can't celebrate our festivals in many states even. And now the police in Maharashtra, they banned within 100 meters, no Hanuman Chalisa, because some Hindus have retaliated to the Asan, which is on loudspeakers. They have said, they have chanted Hanuman Chalisa. No? So, but now the police is saying, no, not within this radius, and you have to take permission. And because basically you can do it with Hindus. Hindus will comply. They will follow the law. But the problem is, I mean, ultimately, I think all this unrest, it is probably political. It has been instigated. But you could not instigate the youth. You could not get so many people on the road if you wouldn't have religion, if you would not use religion. And look, who is, how do you say, Belzecat, or I don't know, who is to speak clearly? Who can talk clearly about what, now, for example, in this context, this is Islam. Christians were not involved in this time, but who will expose the mindset of Muslims, which is so dangerous for us Hindus? Christians won't do. They cannot do, because they have a similar mindset. If you say, look, the Muslims have to, they really believe they have to make the whole world for Allah. It is in Quran 8:39, for example. There are several. They have to fight. Chapter 2:116, I think. Even if they don't want, because Allah knows what is good for them. So they have to go against their conscience. Now, if you hear this constantly in your community, and in India, the communities are so guarded. It reminds me of Germany. I'm from South Germany, from Bavaria, and we are a Catholic country. And in North Germany, it was Protestant. So we would pray for the poor Catholics in northern Germany, in the diaspora, we would call it. We would pray for them that they don't lose their faith, because the majority is around them is not Catholic. it was, I mean, when I was small, now Christianity, Catholics and Protestants say they are not enemies anymore, as at that time, not as much at least. But at that time, we couldn't even pray together. And it was like, yeah, you must never become a Protestant. So we would pray for them, and and they would stick to each other. And I feel a similar situation is in India. The Muslims in Muslim countries may not be even so indoctrinated than the Muslims in India, because they have to confirm themselves, we are right, we have the true faith, Allah loves us and he doesn't love those people. And when you keep hearing this, and when you know that they talk about Hindus the way they talk, which is in the Quran, and nobody says it. So I don't know how to go about it, because yeah, like Wasim Rizvi, this you must have heard, this I think he's Shia, and he was even an official, and he has gone out of Islam and has become Hindu, and he is now in jail. He had petitions in court to remove the offensive verses. Hindus didn't support him. I mean, there may be whatever, the elections were coming and people were skeptical that whether he is genuine, I don't know, but he has done Gavapsi. And officially, he is now, it was also already a fatwa, they are called to kill him, because that is what somebody who leaves Islam has to be done to him. So there are so many points which I feel we are not very clear, because you must also see those people, these Muslims are not bad people as such. They will get sucked into this teaching, and then this is the truth. This, if you don't believe this, you go to hell. Then what are we expecting? And we have no attempt even to clearly say, look, what do you mean by supreme power? What do you think is the purpose of life? Of course, you cannot talk with everybody likes this. But there are educated Muslims also. And I'm sure there are some who don't believe it, but they are stuck also. Because first of all, they get so many advantages, being Muslim, being minority in India. Why should they get out? And if they get out, as soon as somebody complains against them, that they offend their religion, they get into jail. And we don't help them. I feel the situation is very serious.
I concur with you. Situation is serious, but at the same time, the solutions are in the form of the state apparatus. Now, in the Mahabharata, it is
in the form of
in the state apparatus. Mahabharata, Arjun says to Yudhishthir that danda creates peacefulness. Danda means punishment. If there is a fear of danda, then everybody will stay peaceful. But the Indian politicians regularly interfere with the state police, and they don't let them work freely. And that is technically called third world in the American academic circles, where the politicians, they interfere with the state police. Now, in the case of US also, the same things are happening now, where the politicians regularly interfere with the law enforcement. And so gradually, this is a chaos being created. And recently, Victoria Nuland visited India, and she was responsible for balkanization of Yugoslavia and many other places, which I have to really research actually and write. And she visited India and she met Tamils. And then as soon as she left, Sonia Gandhi writes an article. And now the UN, I'm definitely sure USCIRF is going to write an article protecting, asking for Muslims to be forgiven. That's what they're going to do. So this whole ecosystem is working to...
Not forgiven. I don't think forgiven. They will say they are attacked. Hindus should apologize.
Yeah. And this whole ecosystem is working to show that the India is a third world country, it's a poor country, it has its own problems. That's what they want to show. And so that they want to make Modi show Modi as a weak government to the American policymakers, and then interfere in Indian elections in 2024. That's what they're planning to do. Now, as Indians and everybody else, the beauty is we all understand, we all see it. Okay, so we will take all our precautions. But most of these kind of communal incidents in India, because more Muslims die when they attack. Any attacker, they when you attack someone, you get killed more, because it is a general principle of warfare. When you attack, you take more risk to yourself. So now I feel that the law enforcement has to be kept independent, and then only this is going to resolve. Because India, once, like in the states of Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, these incidents are controlled. Only Rajasthan, Maharashtra. Yeah, you go ahead. What you're saying, please.
No, Aditya, I want to, one point, I don't agree with you, that you say Danda and state, if they are strong and then it is controlled, those people, if they believe it is a will of God, then they won't listen to government. They will be happily go even to prison. I mean, this is a danger that, and they are so much used to cut animals. I mean, I told you before we started this, I really was very shaken. Just I got a forward of some youth pulled from a motorcycle, mouth tied up, hands tied up, and then cut. I mean, I mean, it is, when you see it, it is, of course, it happens so often. I mean, even I could not see it happening to a cow or to a goat. I mean, it happens non-stop. I mean, humanity, I feel, has gone on a very wrong path. We are doing so much adamic things in this world. And you know what I feel also, when you talk about Westerners, they are so arrogant, and I feel what is missing in the West is simply wisdom. We just don't know better. We are thrown into this life. And I remember when I was young, I always asked, what is important in life? When I die anyway, why do I live? What should I do? Why should I make any effort when I die? I mean, so I mean, it was just, didn't know. And I doubted God, and I am so grateful. That's why I really say my book is also Thank You, India. Because if I had not come to India, I would not have known this wisdom. And there are so many in the West who don't know. And I can also see, like, I Googled now, like, what is happening with World Economic Forum, and they want now to make us cyborgs and whatever. No? Or I feel, when they talk about consciousness also, Westerners, they mean only content of consciousness. They cannot imagine that there is pure content-free consciousness. I feel Indian wisdom is not secret. You can tell it to everybody, but it is secret in a sense that you need a certain purity, you need a certain refinement maybe, to be able to sense it also. It's not only about understanding with your head, but you have to get an idea what is meant by contentless, thought-free consciousness. So I feel Westerners are not trained in it. They are never taught that it even exists. When you Google on consciousness studies, it's so strange. I met a English girl here in India. She had a guru here, and she was telling me she is studying consciousness studies in England. So I told her, "Oh, you must have many Indian authors whom you study." And she said, "No, not at all." And now, when I Googled consciousness studies, nothing of India, nothing. Even when you Google philosophy, no Indian philosopher. I mean, it's incredible. So I feel they cut purposely the West off, or maybe they cut themselves off because they don't know better. And I feel India has such a big role to play. First of all, I really feel Hindus have now to go back seriously to sadhana, to really try to discover this Atma in oneself, this Sat Chit Ananda. Try to sense it in a sense. Because now they want to chip us and they want to, they say now we are hackable animals, no? Officially, World Economic Forum. This Yuval Noah Harari, he stands at the stage between Angela Merkel and Macron, and after him, and says openly, I wrote even some, we are now, humans should get used to the idea that we are now hackable animals. This idea that humans have this soul or spirit, free will, that nobody knows what is inside me, whether in elections or in the supermarket, that's over, he says. And Schwab, the founder of World Economic Forum, he says, one of the features of the fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what you are doing, but it changes you. If you take, and then he says, if you take a genetic editing, just as an example, it is you who are changed. This has, of course, a great impact on your identity. Can you believe what they are planning? And then the questioner says, people are worried that it changes what it means to be human. And he says, yes, of course, the Industrial Revolution has many opportunities and it raises many questions on ethical and legal implications. We want to address this in Davos. How do you pronounce it? Davos? Davos in Switzerland. It's the World Economic Forum next year. So, I mean, I don't know where we are headed to. And in neuroscience, they can erase your memory. They can erase your memory. They can implant memory and can for some time, and then they can erase it again. I mean, what is me? Neuroscience asks exactly the questions which Rishis asked. He said, what makes a me in me? What makes me think? But they don't get Atma. They don't get the undergrowing oneness. So I don't know what is the role of India. I mean, I feel Indians have a great chance, but we have to practice. We have to take the tradition serious. We have to live accordingly. We have to do sadhana.
No, the 16th chapter of Gita debunks World Economic Forum in just 20 shloka of 16th chapter. First 20, people read it, 24 actually, 1 to 24, and they will understand what is the problem with the entire West and why Asura word is used. And so that is Bhagavad Gita. So people can read that and they can understand. Now, on the Danda, now, I feel that even though the people may not understand, like I said, I have many friends, good people, good-hearted Americans here who are very farmers. They work with animals. They're very clean people, clean. Most of them are vegans also, because when you take care of a cow or a horse, you cannot eat meat because it's somehow that bonding develops. So they are vegans, and nobody has told them to be vegan. They're vegan just because of their own health, not because of any religious reason. Now, when it comes to the whole idea about exceptionalism and superiority, now these are the campaign terms of the US government and the US academic circles, American academic circles. This is that exceptionalism, how Americans are exceptional. They are the people who give maximum charity. Obviously, when you make so much power, so much money, even if you give 1% back, it's not charity. No longer remains a charity because you already made a business deal. Now, coming back to Danda. Now, why I emphasize, this is Arjun telling you this shit, not just anyone else. I'm quoting Arjun here. He says, when the Danda is applied uniformly. And there are different degrees of danda, not just one. If a person is a donkey, then there is a stick also used. Okay, it increases, the power increases as per the quality of a person. A brahmana is chastised verbally, but a criminal is given even a mrityu danda. So it is, all those levels are there. When it is applied, then praja becomes peaceful, because the good people can flourish after that, and brahmanas can flourish and people can flourish. In India, that's the biggest problem, because the politicians, they always interfere, and they don't let the police, like I tell you. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I can't. I think Hindus don't get the mindset
What then?
because I don't think you get the mindset that at Krishna's and Arjuna's time, there was no Christianity and no Islam. There was no indoctrination into this you have to believe, and if you don't believe this, you go to hell. And when you believe it, when you from childhood onwards, as a child you are frightened. I was frightened of it. And when you hear this, then it gets into it. And this was not the case in a normal society and then reason cannot reach you. So I get so nervous when I see on Twitter Muslims should they should do this, they should do.
In the Ramayana Mahabharata time scale also, you had similar people. There were people who were eating humans. They're killing very barbarically. So there were people like that.
But they didn't think that they are doing good.
No, they felt they're good. Ravana was fully convinced that he's doing the right thing, kidnapping Sita. Fully convinced.
Sure.
Yes. You read my book, One Arrow, One Kill. He was fully convinced. He was fully convinced to eat the Brahmanas and the Rishis. He used to eat them. So the people like this, that's why they are called Daitya and Asura. Because they are always there, even in Mahabharata times also. Otherwise, why there was a need for a Mahabharata war? Because Mahabharata war, the need was because such people existed during that time. Yavana, Malecha were there. So in the name of religion, or in the name, there are a lot of people have been existing. Like, we have to start seeing this problem out of the religion, actually. Remove the religion word out of it, because these kind of people exist. They're motivated to perform these acts. There was a person called Charvak Muni. Charvak Muni, I call him the godfather of America, even though he happened to be in Mahabharata times. But the thing is, his mindset was the same. He said, just take loans, eat ghee, and reject all the Veda. That's what he said. And such people were there. And these are the people. He was the associate of Duryodhan. He was a friend of Duryodhan. These were called Rakshas because they were not civilized, and they were like this. So the Sanatan, that's why the Danda, when Arjun talks about Danda, he physically fought with all these people in entire Asia. He fought on the, I'll tell you, where the Ural Mountains. He fought on the border also. It's called Shakadweep in Mahabharata. And he fought over there. He fought in Parsik. He fought in Central Asia. And so these are all the fights he had already done. So just saying that those people did not exist that time, no. These are the same people who are existing today, but the Indian state doesn't understand dharma. Dharma means sometimes you have to use danda, sometimes you have to use niti, and you have to use all these things so that the common people who are like civilized, like yourself, we all can be peaceful. We can follow our sadhana, we can follow these things. So danda is the essential principle of governance, actually, which is Yudhishthira Maharaj applies it after the 36 years that he lived. He applied danda niti thoroughly. There was no fighting, no violence, because the state would act so strong that the people cannot tolerate the influence of the state. So that kind of governance, we have not learned it in the modern governance. We are trying to, the moment we say human rights, then suddenly the human rights of a terrorist becomes more important than human rights of a civilian. And if that happens, then how will a civilian live? So all these things which are happening, I mean, if there is a strict following of Mahabharata, then these things will vanish overnight, because Mahabharata is all about the very strong governance principles. what do you have to say on that? Because I can go on talking, but I need to hear you first, please.
No. I just think the mindset is different. If you are convinced that you have to make the whole world for Allah, you have to make the whole world for Christ. I mean, Christians, most Christians in Europe, I don't think they believe it, but those who get their money from the church, they may have to believe it or profess it at least. So if you really think this, I am the good one, and they are the bad, and they openly, I mean, it is in their book, it is, we are the bad ones. It's so clear. So how can you expect them to see reason if we don't even say anything? We just say, don't do this. And we say, you should not do this. This is not an argument. At least we should tell, look, you think we have so many gods. In the Quran, it's forbidden to have, in Bible also, to have other gods beside me. So look, we have only one Brahman. We are the original worshippers of the one. And you have taken from us, from the Vedas, this concept of one great power, one great intelligence behind all this. And you have to made it into a personal God who has bias, who doesn't like this, and who is even very cruel, and who sends people for all eternity into hell. Then second point, is it possible that you have only one life? This should be, there are so many documentaries now on rebirth, which are, I know even somebody who, when as a child of 2 years and 9 months, she recognized her previous mother and they tested her and all, and there's no other explanation than memory. So this also we should put forth very strongly. And I feel Indians, Muslims, Christians, or Hindus, they have an affinity to this. Maybe there's more than one life, because otherwise all this injustice, it's not explainable. So, and then also, is it possible that we are allowed to kill animals for food if we don't need it really? This would be another point for discussion. We Indians have, we don't debate anymore, but even not among ourselves, whether it's Madhava or Ramanuja or Adi Shankara, but we have to include now Christianity and Islam, at least those who are willing to come for interfaith dialogues, and they are all over the world. But we have to be clear. We have so far we were not clear.
No, most of the interfaith.
I think time is up.
I have attended lots of interfaith dialogues in the US, lots of them. And most of them are disaster because
for Hindus,
because they don't recognize Hindu as a religion for them to compare against. And it's one way good also. I always say we are superior, Dharma is superior, and therefore we don't have to be interfaith dialogue. That is between you of you, because your faith is temporary. And
we should challenge them. We should challenge them. You claim this is the truth. Prove it. And also, one thing I want to say, what is happening now in India, now more and more people say, no, all religions are not the same. Hindus say now. We have realized they are not the same.
Yeah.
But instead of saying Samabhava, Dharma, now they say, some people, so-called secular people, they say, all religions are bad. And this is also again wrong, because Hindu Dharma is in a completely different category. It is following Dharma, it's following one's conscience, and the others are following a book, even if it goes against the conscience. And we have to make this clear. And I am getting very exasperated that we cannot say they should do this, they should do this. They will never do this. We have to put it clearly, and we have to do it. We cannot wait for the West or for anybody. Hindus have to do it.
Yeah, actually,
I think time is over. No?
Yeah, actually, the Dharma is very clear. Dharma is very simple, that it looks after the maximum group of people, and it takes care of everybody. It's like, for example, India was known to be a land of truth and justice, and that's why the businesses flowed to India, because they knew that the Hindus will even reject themselves to deliver a justice, even because that's their followers of truth and justice. And that's why India was rich. And India is again becoming rich because of that principle. But there is another aspect of dharma also, where the dharma advises the governments to act against any criminal element with full force. And that fear of force keeps peace in the society. That's called danda. And that is aspect of which is followed by Yudhishthir and Pandavas. And also great examples of Ramayana are there. And the spiritual discussions between Ramanujacharya or the great spiritual personalities, that is for guiding the intelligent class of people, which is Brahmana, not for everybody. For everybody else, there are duties to the society, varnashram. So, that has to be understood in a proper way. And whatever little I can contribute through my books, I do it. But in the latest book, you'll see all these different aspects of interactions. Now, which I have put over there purposefully, so people, the politicians, can learn that they have to rise above people, like they have to be the guidance to the people. But anyway, Maria, always a pleasure to talk to you, and
Yeah.
always a pleasure to all the viewers who are commenting right now. And do watch it on YouTube and do comment on it and let us know. And I can tell you, Maria has a golden heart, and that's what she's concerned. So that's why.
Dhanyavad
Thank
gratitude.
thank you. Thank
Dhanyavad. Namaste,
you.
everybody.